WLWT News 5, leading the way with breaking news.
And that breaking news tonight, President Trump touting his efforts to make things more affordable. He's in Greater Cincinnati tonight, visiting a logistics company there in Hebron after a visit to a lab in Reading a little earlier today. Thanks for joining us here at 6 o'clock. I'm Cherie Palello.
And I'm Chris Jacobs. We've been leading the way on the president's local stops all day. President Trump just wrapping up his speech. WLWT News 5's Mike Dardis live at the event in Hebron, leading the way with the latest from the president's remarks. Hey there, Mike.
Hi, Chris, and hi there, Sharia. The rain's coming down. We had to come out of the facility. They were shutting things down, so as soon as that speech ends, they want everybody out of there for security reasons. You guys were talking about it before we started the 6 o'clock news. The president using this hour and 10-minute speech to talk about many, many things, including the economy, all of the jobs he says he's created in the states of Ohio and Indiana, all of the money invested in our states here in the Greater Cincinnati as well. Also talked a lot about the war in Iran. He's received some criticism of late about when he's going to get out. We're starting to hear about 7 soldiers who have died and more than 140 military people who have been injured in this war thus far. So he's faced a little bit of criticism. But today he talked about how whether they get out tomorrow or next month, the war, in his mind, has already been won.
Their Air Force is gone, totally gone. That took the better part of about 3 hours. They no longer have radar. They don't have anti-aircraft equipment. They don't have anything. Their missiles are down 90%. Their drones are down 85%. We're blowing up the factories where they're made left and right. And frankly, nobody has ever seen anything like it. Nobody's ever seen anything like what you're witnessing now, and that can include the original killing of Soleimani and al-Baghdadi, 2 of the worst killers in the world that I did, as well as Operation Midnight Hammer, where we totally obliterated Iran's nuclear potential. We obliterated it. They don't have nuclear potential. Massie voted against tax cuts for seniors. He voted against tax cuts for overtime workers, and he voted against tax cuts for earners, tip earners. No, he wanted to increase the taxes. He voted with the Democrats. He voted against our historic funding for border security. He voted against border security, where we took the worst border in the history of our country, made it the best border in the history of our country in 2.5 months. He voted against it.
Yeah, talking a lot about Thomas Massie today. You know, it's interesting. President Trump won the state of Kentucky by more than 30 points in the general election, yet 2 of his harshest critics are actually from the state of Kentucky as far as Republicans are concerned. And you're talking about Senator Rand Paul and Thomas Massie, who we just talked about right there. He brought Ed Galrine up, the military man who he is hoping can win in the primary election coming up here in the next couple of months and overtake Thomas Massie on the Republican side for the 4th congressional district. All right, so you know that this has been quite the day. The president out here in northern Kentucky. Before that, he was over in Reading, Ohio at Thermo Fisher Scientific, arriving just this afternoon. And you know it's quite the deal when they close down all of those roads, all of those highways, when the president lands at CVG. For that part of our team coverage, let's go live right now to WLWT News 5 anchor Ashley Kirkland. Ashley?
Hi, Mike. Well, though it was a much more high-profile day here at CVG, things did run very smoothly despite the president's visit. We got video of the president when he came here, and Air Force One came right behind me and landed, touched down. The president then got off of Air Force One here at CVG and was greeted by service members before getting into the motorcade and headed to those 2 businesses where he spoke at one of those businesses here today that we just saw. We spoke to many flyers who said that they did not experience any disruptions despite the president's visit, but they did get here hours early just to make sure to avoid any chaos surrounding the visit. There was extra security and police presence here, of course, at CVG. And the president is set to get back here to CVG to get back on Air Force One very shortly and head back out to Washington, D.C. from our area. So a very just everything pretty copacetic here at CVG. today despite the president's visit and making things a little busier than usual. Back to you, Mike.
All right, Ashley Kirkland live for us, president arriving this afternoon. And really what's interesting, Ashley, is it's a 7-hour day for the president from the time he leaves the White House to the time he gets back home tonight after all of those visits here to the greater Cincinnati area, stopping and being shuttled around. Talking about shuttled around, before arriving here in northern Kentucky for the later speech at 4:50, there was an event that was closed to the media, just pool cameras only, where the president was taking a tour of Thermo Fisher Scientific. For that part of our coverage, we go live right now to WLWT News 5's Aaron Thomas. Hi, Aaron.
Hey there, Mike. Yeah, you know, everything is back to normal, but we can tell you just early in the day, it was pretty busy and pretty lively. This street here, Galbraith Road, was full of several supporters and opponents of President Trump's visit. His visit to this facility behind me lasted all of about 45 minutes, where he really got to see about all the innovation when it comes to medicine happening here in Ohio. We can take you inside this facility where we saw President Trump. He was getting this tour alongside the CEO and chairman of Thermo Fisher Scientific Pharmaceuticals, leaders touting their efforts to enhance and expand manufacturing operations. They say it's made possible by the administration's push to slice the price of prescription drugs. Trump's visit comes after the release of Trump RX. That's a new platform aimed at offering cheaper prescription drug options for Americans. During his stop, he says that he made deals with drug manufacturers, threatening countries with tariffs to ensure lower prices for Americans. Take a listen.
In 28 years, medicine's only gone up, and we brought it down by, in many cases, 80% more. So it's an honor, and you're a big recipient because it's good for your business.
Now, during his visit, he also called Thermo Fisher a great company. And during a question and answer session, he took questions as it relates to the Iran war, claiming that the U.S. has knocked out many of Iran's assets. Reporting live in Reading, Aaron Thomas, WLWT News 5.
Aaron, thank you so much. So from Reading, we're back here at Hebron, Kentucky at Verst Logistics. You might wonder, why did they end up here? Besides the obvious reason, it's a business that's thriving under the Trump administration, the president using that as a peg to his speech. I talked to the CEO of Verst, his name is Paul, and he told me, hey, I got a call out of the blue. Senator Mitch McConnell's office was called by the White House because of the attacks on President Trump, or the attempts on his life here in the last year or so. They've decided to use smaller venues and warehouses. They called Mitch McConnell's office, the U.S. Senator who's been in that office for so long, and he said, hey, I've got place to check it out. They called, and it was just a cold call to Paul, who actually got up and got a chance to speak today. People actually showed up at this facility last night. There were people from other states as well as here in Greater Cincinnati, and they were filing in today. For that part of our story, we bring in WLWT News 5's Todd Dykes. Todd?
Yeah, Mike, despite dealing with several rounds of heavy rain today, supporters of President Trump are making it clear that there's really nowhere else they would have rather spent their Wednesday afternoon.
Before President Trump began speaking today at a logistics company in Hebron, a long line of his supporters talked with me about a host of current topics.
Honestly, my expenses have actually gone down since he's been in office. So my grocery bills have gone down. I don't know if it's just the way I shop, but I get American stuff, and I've been paying less.
Well, everybody wants gas prices to go down a little bit, so we can be praying that all that gets turned around sometime soon.
And are you, in the military actions, are you okay with that? And what do you make of what's happening?
Well, I'm not in politics right now, but I think President Trump and others are leading the country in a correct direction. And, war is always a terrible thing, especially in a sin-cursed and broken world. So, we hate to see that sort of thing. But at the same time, sometimes actions have to be done.
Well, obviously, he's already done a lot.
You feel good about it?
Oh, yeah, we do.
Oh,
I know
gosh, yes.
there's some pain, but you got to look at the end state. And I don't know that everybody does that.
Now, MAGA and conservative supporters who came here today know the president does have critics who question what that end state will ultimately be. Only time will tell on that front. But for his fans who are here in Hebron today, listening to the man himself seems to be plenty enough. For now, reporting live tonight here in Boone County, Todd Dykes, WLWT News 5.
Todd, thanks so much. And I'll tell you, it used to be that they'd wait about a year and a half or 2 years before the next presidential election before they'd start on the campaign trail. And yes, they talked about some deep issues today, like the war in Iran, but really this was in part a campaign rally, and there are going to be many of them ahead on both sides of the aisle. In fact, in a couple of weeks on the Democratic side up in Butler County, I'm hearing about a big event. The governor of Kentucky, Andy Beshear, will actually be at the event in Butler County with Sherrod Brown, who's running for U.S. Senate, and Amy Acton, the Democrat who's running for the governor of Ohio. So hot and heavy. 3 years to go. Pace yourself. For now, in Hebron, Kentucky, Mike Dardis reporting live. We're back at 7 o'clock. Guys, back to you.
All right, Mike, thank you so much. Mike Dardis wrapping up our team coverage after President Trump's visit, his first visit of his second term to the presidency.
So the president now leaving that manufacturing facility there in Hebron and heading straight to CVG. So you're going to definitely want to avoid that area. They're going to have the highway shut down, those back roads as the Secret Service and local law enforcement get him out of here, get him over to CVG and back onto Air Force One. And as Mike said, much more coverage coming up tonight at 7 o'clock. Okay, our other big story, you kind of saw it